Aloha, welcome to the 17th episode of the 10th series of the Temple of Surf, the podcast. Today with us from California, founder and shaper of Album Surf, Matt Parker. We discuss with him about surfboard design, surfers, and much more. Hello, Matt. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I'm at my shop in San Clemente, California, USA.
Fantastic. So I heard that the summer in California is not like really pumping in terms of waves. Do you have the same feeling or?
Well, where we are, like in San Clemente, we're south facing. And so this half of the year is kind of like when the waves are best, when the points are the best down here. And so we get south swells and the water's warm, and wintertime for us, we're a little bit shadowed. So we kind of have to drive in the wintertime to find waves. But this time of year, it's never great, but it's surfable every day. And the last 6 weeks has been good. It's been pretty fun. So
Okay, fantastic. So see, the way I understood it was that I actually I consider California like one state with one weather condition, but yeah, you're right, a different different spot.
Oh, it's such a huge coastline. It's like thousands and thousands of miles and faces all different directions. And so different areas get different swells. Even like just from here to San Diego's like in like 45 minutes from here, an hour from here, and they face a totally different direction and get different swell windows and almost different conditions too. It's interesting.
Okay, but I never stop learning. So I started the interview with a silly question, but hopefully I will regain during the interview. Otherwise, it's going to be quite a mess. So today we're going to talk about, of course, album surfboard, and we're going to talk about shaping, surfing. But the first question I ask everyone on the show is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surf?
Oh, it's probably different for everybody. So I can't answer for anybody else. But for me, it's the enjoyment of being out in nature and the fun of riding the energy of the waves. And so fun is like the escape from the crazy world we live in and go out into nature and just like the peace of that and all that. It sounds kind of cliche, but definitely it's fun. All forms of it is fun. So I mean that's why I shape all sorts of different surfboards, I guess.
It's not a cliche, I think, because in a certain way, like I would like people to understand how cool it is to go out there, and be in the lineup and catching waves and whatnot. On the other hand, we don't want the waves to be like hyper crowded. They are already hyper crowded. So definitely, it's a bit. There is a kind of conflict of interest over there, because as long the sport is growing, and more people are passionate about surfing. The complexity of being out there and the safety aspect as well is getting quite difficult to manage, isn't it? And that in San Clemente, I guess, like it's just like everybody out there.
Yeah, I think I've found in the last few years that your expectations really affect your enjoyment of the surf. And it seems like anytime you have really high expectations, like, oh, the forecast is going to be good, it's going to be epic, you tend to get let down. And so if you start with, like, for me, if I start with zero expectations, like, okay, I'm just happy I get to paddle out today. I get to duck dive a few times, and any wave you get is just, gravy on top of that. And it's my enjoyment level and my appreciation level, my gratitude level is much higher if I try to just keep expectations almost zero, because you can't control that. You can't control if it's going to be crowded. There's just things that, that's just surfing in general. There's so many things you can't control. So just gotta accept it and enjoy it.
I will use the same strategy you do. Like if you set the expectation really, really low, then every surf session is a great one, right? So it's I'm expecting to find 3,000 people in the beach today. Ah, no, there were only 2,000. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
The better way to go, I think.
It's a great mindset, and like recently I like to collect surfboards. I don't know if it's a good thing or not. No, for sure not for the for my wife or for my wallet, but I bought like a 1963 or 65 Velsi, and on the back of the surfboard there was a surf permit that at that time everybody had to add in order to go out there and surf. So maybe.
Watch out, I'll show you. I have my uncle's old harbor surfboard in here in my office from Newport Beach back in the day. And we got it right there too.
Yeah, you see. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you used to have a permit to go out in the water.
Fantastic. So at a certain point, I guess that will be back because like it's very, very difficult sometimes to go out there, especially in places like San Clemente. Of course, it's one of the destination of surf worldwide or worldwide for what matters, Australia. And like it's really, really getting crowded. Unless you know secret spot, and that is a good thing too. But we will not talk about it. We keep it.
Yeah, I think though I've found if you're committed to a spot, like if you surf a spot a lot daily, in and out, all different conditions, even if it's crowded, for me, like you just kind of know how to navigate the lineup and you know who surfs there regularly and you kind of know where the waves are going to be and you can kind of work your way through the lineup. And there's a lot of people come and go. Like this, I surf trestles a lot. And obviously that's a huge tourist destination. Lots of people come from all over the place and from California and everywhere and come and surf there every day. And so every day out there, there's a very transient crowd. Like from one day to the next, you'll see 80% of the people you won't see again. And so you kind of, I think if you're just committed to a spot and you surf there and you kind of put your soul into that spot, you kind of,
Yeah.
I think you get insights and you just know how to read the lineup and it pays off, especially when the waves are good. There's a lot of people out there just trying to figure out where to sit and you already kind of know where to be and where the waves are going to be and you get the good ones.
Yeah. That's the good definition of being a local and navigate through the mess with opportunity. See, okay, I like your positivism. Your positive approach. And what was your first dream surfboard? Like the one that you really wanted you to have it, or has been gifted to you by somebody, by your family?
I would say so. I was born in 1976, and so I grew up. I was a teenager in the 90s, and so probably like my surf idols back then were really like Matt Archibald with like a channel bottom, swallowtail, tri-fin shortboard, or even maybe like those old Slater Merricks with the carbon strips down the stringer. That was kind of my 14 or 15-year-old self was probably like, whoa, that board looks amazing. So that was probably what I aspired to in my youth when I was a kid.
Okay.
I got my first surfboard when I was like 12. So I didn't start surfing until I was 12, 13, something like that.
What was that board? Like you still do you still have it, by the way?
No, I wish I did. It was a 6'4" Chuck Dent, like kind of like an 80s style thruster, glass on fins and gloss and polish, thruster, kind of a flat deck, down rail, 80s outline. So this was probably like 1988 or something like that. So kind of like at the end of the 80s cycle of boards.
The legendary Chuck Dent experience, like still to the it's that okay, fantastic. But so you didn't keep it. You just let it go. Yeah.
No, I think I surfed that thing for probably 2 or 3 years, and then when you're a kid, I was always hustling. You're hustling to make some money on the side to get another board or to buy a wetsuit, and so like sell that board, buy your brother's used one, and then surf that for a little bit. I was always like cycling through because I wanted to try different boards and hustling a little bit.
But at that time, were you projecting yourself in having a career in surf? I mean, like, let's forget about surfboard shaping for a while, but were you projecting yourself working in this industry in a way or another?
Not even. I was just like back then when I was a kid, you just wanted to fit in and learn. You just wanted to be competent, you know? You just wanted, I grew up probably like 10, 12 miles from the beach. And so we didn't live like right at the beach. And so I didn't get to go every day. And so I was just happy to be able to surf all day if I got to go. And so I just wanted to be competent and get decent at it so I could hang and have fun. And so yeah, no, I was playing other sports. I played baseball a lot and did a lot of other things. And so a career in surfing was like a totally alien idea.
Okay, but that's a fantastic like journey. You know, if you didn't have any expect again, we talk about and no like low expectation, and then end up for creating like such a beautiful brand and surfboards. Let's talk about you as a surfer just for a while, and then we shift into shaping. Two questions. So first, what was the most memorable wave of your life?
That's a good question.
And I didn't ask the best one, most memorable one. That could
Right.
be even
Okay. Yeah. Like most memorable one is probably the first like real face that I surfed as a kid. You know, because it's probably the same as you when we learned to surf. There was nobody taught you how to surf. There was no surf lessons or surf schools or anything like that. You know, you somehow got aboard and you got away to the beach and you just paddled out and tried to figure it out. And so when you're learning like that, it's all, I mean, I boogie boarded as a kid, as a little kid and stuff. So you knew the ocean and knew how waves broke and stuff, but it took a while to be able to learn how to get into position and actually catch a wave and actually ride the face. And so I was at Huntington Beach on the north side of the pier when I was a kid, and I rode one that stood up and lined up, and it was like a green glassy face. And that one still, I can picture it in my head, you know, however many, 40 years later or whatever. It's like very, very distinct.
yeah, kind of those things you know you never forget. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Well, that's what hooks you. For me, that's what was like, it was like, whoa, I can't believe it. You know, it's amazing feeling. So just hook, that's all you wanted to do and try to catch, you know, find more of those after that.
following to this question. Another question about surfing is how important is style for you?
Yeah, I think obviously that's who we all love to watch. Surfers that surf beautifully. That's the aspirational thing that we all wish we could surf like. And so to me, it's critical. It's way more important, obviously, than if you can do a million different maneuvers. And I think it's also important that style can't really be contrived. You know, you can't really fake it. I think it's like it has to be just naturally how you move and how you feel in the water. Like Victor Bernardo, who rides for me, is a perfect example of that, where it's like a variety of flow and speed and exciting maneuvers when the wave calls for it, pumping the brakes and cruising when the wave calls. It's just being able to kind of like be relaxed and express yourself in a really beautiful way.
And do you? It's a very controversial question because I have a lot of discussion with people in the podcast and also with my friends about today competitive surfing portrays or gives opportunity to have style in that definition that you were talking about, or it is about maneuvering. Where do you put the cursor? Where do you put the I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. To me, obviously, like the real way to define it is, you know, there's all these amazing athletes that are amazing competitors and they're skilled like an athlete, and that is like competitive surfing. Like this is the box that they've been given and they know how to tick that box and do that well. And I can appreciate that for like, especially when they're doing it live under pressure, all that. That's an amazing skill in its own. But there's plenty of surfers that are good in that format that I would never want to watch an edit or a video of, because they're surfing. It's like, yeah, I can see why they get the points because they're doing the maneuver and they're whatever, but it's not appealing versus like, is this someone I would stop everything to watch an edit of them comes out that day? Would I stop and watch it? And to me, that's a differentiator in style. I can see why in the competitive world it's difficult because competitive surfing is already subjective. When you're trying to judge somebody surfing, it's already so subjective. And if you're adding the element of style, there isn't like an objective definition of style. And so it's probably almost impossible in a competitive format to say his style is better than this other guy's style. I mean, because it's so subjective. That's why, I mean, surfing really it shouldn't really be a competitive sport because it doesn't really fit the idea of what a competitive sport is. That being said, I love watching it. I love watching live surfing in the moment, especially when the waves are good, and seeing those guys and girls perform in those situations is. I'll watch every contest, but it always feels like a little bit square peg in a round hole. It doesn't really feel totally natural in the way that it's done, but
I mean, it's a very complex and long discussion, so I don't want to get stuck into that today. But definitely, you see, even a few months ago, Gabriel Medina was really upset about the way they were like judging, and even in the point system, there is a lot of subjectivity, and that's like it makes things a lot complicated, So it's.
Imagine the person competing, they're the least objective about it, right? Of course, they're going to feel like they surf the best, but they're the least objective. So,
of course, like each one of us, we cannot be excused from that. And yes, of course. And then for people that we listen to this interview, of course, the Olympic game will have passed already, but like in a week time, there are Olympic games. So I guess it will be fun to watch all the surfers. Some of them great, some of them maybe like they never surfed chopu in their lives, So it will be interesting to see how things will evolve. Will you watch the Olympic Games, or you will just let it slip?
oh no, I think it'll be fascinating. I mean, Chopu is such a unique wave, and it's like I don't know what the forecast looks like, but no, I think it'll be super interesting just to see how it's portrayed in a mainstream world too, and how it's viewed, especially if the waves are pumping and there's carnage and glory and all that stuff that comes with that wave. I can see it really shining a really bright spotlight on surfing because it's a lot of people in the world have never seen that type of surfing. They're used to competitive surfing. When they see it, it's 1 foot beach break and it's very boring, and they can't tell the difference between a winner and a loser in those scenarios. So it'll be interesting.
And in 4 years' time, we will be all coming to California to see Olympic Games in LA.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I guess that will be a fantastic. You're gonna sell a lot of surfboard, I guess, in that period.
Yeah.
So I started the interview asking you what is the most important thing in surfing. What is the most important thing in shaping?
To me, it's the idea. It's the concept. It's the idea of what you're trying to make, or the concept of the design is the pinnacle to me. Like that's the most important thing. That's where like a concept or a design of a surfboard can be executed in a number of different ways, different constructions, different whatever. But I think it's having an idea for a type of board to ride a wave in a certain way for a certain surfer, and that's always the most critical.
Okay, you album surf is surfboard. Are surfboard that are hand shape or machine shape?
Both. I spent probably 10 or 12 years only hand shaped thousands of boards. And that's kind of where I really got my foundation for just understanding rockers and foils and creative thinking in designing a board and making something with my hands. And then over the years, that if I only stuck to that, it felt a little bit limiting because there's a conceptual like design and execution lag time with design process and build process, where if you have an idea and I draw out the outline, shape the board, get it glassed, surf it, get feedback on it, and then want to go and refine or adjust and tweak that idea, it's a slow process. And so, like, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 years ago, I started designing more on CAD software. And in that scenario, I can take an idea and I can iterate that idea 25 different ways. And I can see some of them in 3D and I can kind of like gauge if it's a good idea, if it looks right. And so I can take a concept and I can iterate and flesh out that idea, and I can refine it and perfect it and then make it so much faster and so much more efficiently. And then I can also scale that idea. So I can take a board, let's say that I make for Victor Bernardo, who's a pro surfer, who's 27 years old, and he rides a board at this size. And I can now take that perfected, fleshed out concept and I can scale it for a guy who's 6'3", 200 pounds, and I can scale that idea exactly as it should be. And so the output of my boards, my success rate with the boards is extremely high because I've spent like the years and years hand shaping, like getting all the reps, the understanding, the hours, all that stuff of what looks right, what feels right. And then now I can take that and I can kind of execute that with a very high success rate. It's funny, if you ask like Victor or Jack, like the success rate on boards that I make them, it's almost 100% of boards that work and they love every time. There's very few dogs when we go that because the process has been refined so much, which is really fun.
Which is, yeah, it's fantastic. If you have like 100% success rate, like you are on the perfection. So
Yeah, like I think you have to be like, to me, I think about if my goal is to make the best surfboard that performs exactly or even better than I had intended. And so it's like, what are all of my tools at my disposal to make that best surfboard? And I'm going to use all the tools at my disposal. And so that could be hand shaping something because I'm looking for maybe a less of a determined outcome. And I'm just going in with a little bit more open mind. And I'm going to kind of see what happens in the shaping bay and see what comes of that. Maybe something that would surprise me. And maybe that's the goal. Or I know I made a model for Clay Marzo and I'm going to apply it to somebody else and I want to just adjust it for this specific type of wave. I can take that concept, adjust the design, cut it on CNC, finish shape it exactly perfect, and it nails that goal too. So I think for me as a designer, I just want to be able to use the best tool, whatever tools are going to accomplish the goal that I'm trying to achieve with that board.
okay, so if I well understand, let's say you have a model surfboard, okay, any of them, and then you have like a surfer that really needs some specification or wants to achieve different things with the same kind of concept of surfboard. So you take that concept and you work on CAD in order to create a kind of a similar but different version of it, and you do one CAD designs for one person. This is what you said.
Yeah, exactly. So most of the boards I make are custom boards, and I obviously have a number of board models, but almost every board that I make is a modified, tweaked, adjusted, refined variation. It's not like it's net like if somebody a Twinsman is like a very foundational board model that a lot of people have written. But if somebody orders a Twinsman, we never just like plug in the dimensions into the computer and shoot out that one in that size. It's always refined and adjusted to the person that's ordering it and where they're surfing and their age and their ability level and what they're looking to achieve and how they surf and all that stuff.
But question from the man on the street, I don't know what to say, is wouldn't it be easier that point to and finishing the board and shaping the board rather than doing a CAD or process?
Well, that's what I mean. So in that way, like when I only hand shaped, I made a lot of boards that came out really good, but there's a lot that were like, a little bit off, needed to be adjusted. And you don't know that until you finish the hour and a half of hand shaping, and then you're done. You're like, it's like, this came out a little thin or a little thick or whatever it is. It's like a little, like the rocker's a little bit, it's just not as precise. And so that's why I said it depends on what goal you're trying to achieve. So if there's a guy that wants to ride the same board as Jack Freestone, and Jack Freestone is 6'2", 195 pounds, pro surfer, but let's say this guy is 5'7" and he's smaller, but he wants to ride a variation, I can deliver that to him exactly on spec what he wants, and it's going to work great for him.
It's fantastic, these custom made process that you do.
Sometimes I'm sorry to cut you up. There's a misnomer sometimes that people think like CAD or CNC is like for replicating boards. Like it's faster at replicating boards. To me, that's not what the tool is used for. Because I'm not really making a commodity board. I'm not making thousands of stock boards that are getting sent to shops around the world. Like that's not what my business is. And so some people do that, but that's not what I use the tools for. If you understand the difference, but it's
it's like funny enough is I think I did 180 episodes of the podcast, and I think 1/3 of them for sure with shapers, and I always hear the two sides, like 100% and shaping radical or 100% computer design, and call it we cannot call it mass production, but let's say industrial, production. But it's the first time that I hear the combination of the two, and the approach of custom made with machine shaping, which is very, very interesting, because I think it adds, yes, you will have a high level of how do you call it, with 100% success. Yeah.
Like to me, it's more. It's like that's why I say the design or the concept is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, what is the best tool for me to achieve that design or that concept as best as I can? And if tomorrow they invented some new laser cutting planer that did it better, I would learn how to use that and have that as the tool that I used. And so I think about like, all these ways of doing it, all these different tools I'm going to use. I want to understand them all, and then I want to use the best one to accomplish the design. And sometimes you'll see somebody who has good ideas, but they don't know how to execute it. Like they don't have that hand shaping background, or they're not good on the computer, and they don't know how to actually achieve their design. They have good ideas, but they can't execute. And then sometimes you'll see shapers that are amazing on the tools, like skilled craftsmen on the tools, but they don't have great ideas. So they can perfectly shape a mediocre board, or you'll see guys that can have a good idea, but it ends up being a mediocre version. So to me, I'm trying to like get as good as I can at all those different avenues, so that I can have better ideas and I can nail the ideas when I have them.
Got you. I got you completely. And would you define yourself a perfectionist?
No. Definitely not. Because I think I learned so much in like like I can have a concept that's a rough idea, and maybe that idea isn't perfected yet, but I know there's something to the idea, and I'll make a few boards around that idea that are not perfect. And I think through that process, you're kind of like, you learn something that you didn't expect, and you have fun in a different way because, oh, it did something that I didn't expect. And it's like this constant, it's a constant process, which is really, that's the design process. And I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. But I think you can get too hung up in, it has to be exactly perfect before I can go take it out and surf it. It's like, that's not what surfing is. You know, you can't, there's too many variables you can't control anyways. So it's like,
Yeah.
is this going to work? Sweet. Let's go wax it up and take it out and see what happens.
Okay. No, because I thought that maybe focusing on 100% success rate, you know, you would have, like, nothing goes out from the factory if it's not like 100% perfect.
Well, that's true for customers. So like if a customer orders a board, for sure, like the glass job and the shape and everything has to be perfect when we're delivering something that somebody's ordered. I guess I'm talking about me personally, like my personal, like the boards I make for myself. Like I don't care if there's, if you know, if there's a little bit of sand through or whatever like that. I'm not really, I'm focused on the design or the idea, and like we'll sort out the details later. But for customers, yeah, you have to give them what they're ordering, and you got to do that as good as you can, as close as you can.
That explains a lot. In fact, when I was browsing through your website, you know, I was like, our surfboards, you know, and I see the surfboard models. It's like line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 6. So, oh my God, it's like, so I guess you enjoy a lot making the design of those surfboards, and for that reason, you have a very prolific number of models that people can actually look like an encyclopedia of what is album surfboard, and good. It's nice, you know. I like that.
Well, it's endless. You know, the variety of type of waves and type of surfing you can do is really endless. And I want to have fun surfing every day, if it's 1 foot or 10 foot and everything in between. And so I want to make boards that motivate me and that get me excited to surf. Like to me, that's a good surfboard when the waves aren't even that good, but you're frothing to go paddle out because you know you have a board that's going to make it fun. So
I agree with you. You were saying before about laser cutting technology, for instance. Do you think like we reach? It's a question that I ask a lot of time to shapers. Do you think that we reach like a level in terms of innovation, surfboard innovation, that allows only incremental innovation, or do you think, or you feel, or you hope of having in the next, I don't know, 10 years, a revolutionary innovation in surfboard shipping industry?
the biggest limitation in the advancement of all that is capital. You know, nobody making surfboards makes much money. And so, and nobody's investing capital in new technology or new materials or, you know, at a large enough scale to make a quick impact. And so it's incremental because that's just what surfboard builders and manufacturers can afford to do. And that's the biggest limitation. So, you know, you're kind of like, if everyone's just trying to break even and just pay their glassers and pay their sanders and like get enough money to get blanks for the next month, it's like you just don't have, you know, a capital investment to just spend millions of dollars investing in a new technology, which is really what it would be required, you know? I mean, it's
some other industry that without knowing, they develop a product that can be replaced by, I don't know, fiberglass, you know, or resin.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. It's the hard thing is their surfboard production, like the way surfboards are built in small factories, and I feel like everyone operates so lean. You know, it's like everyone just wants to be efficient and proficient at the process of building the boards with the materials we have. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it probably will come from some other industry. I mean, Varial Foam was a great example of that. Unfortunately, they're out of business now, but they were their foam came from the aerospace industry, and it was a chemical formulation from rocket booster insulation foam. And one of their engineers like applied it to a usage in surfboard blanks, and it worked amazing. But there wasn't enough capital to actually own the technology. And so they were at the mercy of the aerospace company who was manufacturing that foam and who owned the patent on the chemical makeup. And so it just wasn't, it was out of their control.
Okay. Well, for sure, it's not the same case. But when I had the interview with Chris Christensen, he was telling me the story about him experimenting with some guy of NASA, and NASA, is in some kind of resin, and it didn't ended up so well. I will let you. It's very fun. It's a very fun interview. I will let you listen to it one day if you have time. But like, okay, if innovation, okay, cannot be reached like a in a dramatic way, let's say, still incremental innovation. You are talking about laser cutting. It's like maybe easier to reach and deploy because of technology that is used basically in everything, right? It's like 3D printing in a certain way. I know that I'm saying things that all the shepherds will say, like, what the hell are you talking about? But nevertheless, though there is a question that still you are saying, okay, there is no much money to be made in surfboard. True. I had the same comments from basically every other shipper in the world. Very interesting discussion I had in this topic with Akila Aipa, son of Ben Aipa in Hawaii, and tell me, Alessandro, like, we don't really make money, but nevertheless, the cost of one surfboard, if it's not bought at Costco or Walmart, is very high. It's and it's getting higher and higher and higher and higher. Like today, to buy a custom surfboard, it's like what, $1,500, $1,800, if not more.
Well, I mean, you think about something that how unusual it is in the world of manufacturing to manufacture a one-off, something. Like if you look in my factories right now, almost every single board on the rack has a blank with there's different density blanks, different stringer material, different type of wood, custom stringers, different layup, different fin setup, different shape, different dimensions, different color, different lamination. Like every single one is a unique one-off build. And so scaling that or doing that in a cost-effective way is very difficult. So it's impossible, really. And then that's just the manufacturing of the board. And then you factor in the cost of just operating a business and being up to code and regulations, and it's toxic, chemicals and all this stuff, So, I mean, there's just a lot that's kind of built into that. So I think I always try to remind surfers how amazing it is that we participate in this thing where we can go to somebody and they can custom make you to your spec, to your taste, to your style, something exactly for you with your name on it. And it costs under $2,000 in 2024. That's insane. And it's the thing that brings you the most joy, the thing that you love to do more than anything. And that's such a reasonable expense for that. It's just like, man, I mean, like what if like surfboard manufacturing got fully commoditized like some other industry? I don't even know what, skis or something like that, where it's just like everyone just bought whatever off the rack was made at some offshore factory. And it's just like there's something magical and special about surfboards and why we cherish them and care a lot about.
It's a very convincing sales pitch, but you are absolutely right, 100%, because us as a surfers, when we say support your local surf shop, right? Support the shape, support the craft, support the industry, it's like it's materialized when we do this act, if we go to shop in a big like department stores and we buy things that just made on thousands and are like I cannot I cannot judge. I have my opinion on quality, of course, and craft, and they are like as you said, they are replicas. There are thousands or millions of surfboard made the same with no kind of with not at all any kind of relation between the surfer and the tool that is the surfboard in this case. Again, another topic can be raised on fins, right? Because like of course fins at the large, they are all the same if you want to say, but there is a huge personalization can be obtained in the fins industry, right? We never talk about it. And so yeah, I totally agree with you. It's important that we defend the good part of the surf industry, the one that really wants to make the difference and the one to support the surfers. And so for us to pay $2,000 for a surfboard is a way to pay back, and is a way to anyway to purchase something that has value. It's our
I think the other thing to think about is like if you really want like better surfboards and more innovation, like you support the people that are making the thing that's going to accomplish that. I mean, that's really what surfing really is: a surfboard, fins, board shorts, or a wetsuit. Like all the other stuff, clothing or whatever is whatever. That's not really critical to surfing. So I think it's important to support the things that are actually at the core of what this thing actually is.
No, totally. No, definitely. At the end, what you need is just like a board short, a leash. If you're not in California, no leash, I guess, and a surfboard, right? and and some fins. Okay, last question, and then we go to the end of our interview. I already stole a lot of your time. Are you working today on a particular project, or for you it's just like business as usual? You are with all what we said until now. You are already busy enough.
Well, I always have new models I'm working on. My idea with like the guys that ride for me under album is to have each of them have a little quiver of models that is true to their surfing and that they're the boards that they want to ride. So I'm always developing models for those guys, for Victor and Asher and Margot and Jack and Clay and Mackenzie and everybody who's riding the boards. I'm trying to get them to all have boards that work for them. And then in January, we launched the Coco Ho project, the XO Coco line, which is boards designed more specifically around a female perspective and female anatomy for surfboards. And so we've been doing that, which is really fun and learning a lot. And like, that's been super eye-opening, opening up like that whole market to an audience that hasn't really ever been served that well. And that's been just been fun, really fun. It's been really fun because it's been designing boards and just kind of through different eyes in a different way. And then also trying to create something that brings in more female board builders and shapers and all that stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, on this, in fact, I think was a conversation that I had with Cassia Medor about how obviously female body is totally different than male body. And so a surfboard needs to react in a totally different way. And today doesn't matter, just like unless you go for like total custom and you are a pro surfer, of course. But otherwise, like it's not well understood from a surfboard perspective that a woman surfs different and is different than a man, right?
Yeah, like my oldest daughter is about the same size as Coco. She's 5'1". She's 105 pounds. If she walked into a surf shop, there's not, and she wanted to ride a performance board, there's not a board for her unless she found like a Grom used board in the used rack maybe. But even that's like for a 13-year-old boy, not for a 20-year-old woman. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, where, and yeah, if you have a shaper that can make you boards, you can definitely do that. But most people don't get custom surfboards. It's a small percentage of the surfing population that orders custom surfboards. So,
and also most of the people do not have the understanding of what a custom board is, right?
yeah.
You will just tell him like, okay, I'm a regular, I'm a goofy, I'm 100 kilos or whatnot, and that's it. They don't understand also the way they surf, right? So, of course, large numbers. Today I was driving. I was thinking about this thing of the Olympic Games. Sorry, I was not planning to have this question, but I really want to know.
Current event.
No, because like in the Olympic Games, everyone has different shaper, right? Sharp Eye, Channel Island, I don't know, Lost, but none of them has a, let's call it, custom shaper. I mean, I guess all those boards are customs made by big producers, of course, because there is so much to lose if you surf a crappy board, let's say. But they are all the big ones. There are no like small company like yours, for instance. Is it just a matter of money, in your opinion, or of like marketing power that this big producer, of course, they have, and is great for them, or there is something else?
I think it's just the nature of competitive surfing and competitive surfers and the brands that they ride. I mean, obviously, like each of those, from John to each Griffin, any of these guys that are extremely well known and extremely successful competitive surfers, they've had a relationship with their shaper for a long time, whether it's Matt Biolis or John Pizell. These guys have been making them great boards, very custom, refined, specialized equipment. And those brands are just on kind of a more mainstream audience, competitive. WSL or any of that stuff is like mainstream broadcast, worldwide brands. And it's just a different business. I think it's a different type of business where it's more like when you go into a surf shop all over the world, you'll see all those brands and those models because they're making something at a broader scale. They have licensees in different countries manufacturing the boards, the similar models in all the different countries, because that's what the mainstream surf customer probably is looking for. The mainstream surf customer is probably looking for what John is writing, or what Griffin or Felipe or whatever they're writing. They're probably looking for that. And so that business model serves that customer, and that's probably the broadest customer out there. We're probably more specialized and more niche, and our customers not looking for the thing that's everywhere. They're kind of looking for something that's different.
I know, but like it would be nice or it would be cool to see like one of those surfers going to the Olympics with their local shaper and not just like one of the big names, say like, which board are you? I'm surfing this from, well, nobody knows. Would be nice.
Maybe one of the surfers from one of the smaller countries, or maybe not as big of the surf nations. Maybe they are. I don't know. I only kind of know the bigger names that are competing in it, but there could be a surfer from some other lesser known country with a local brand. I don't know. It's very possible.
So far, I'm studying the subject quite heavily, but so far, no, I found none. I still need to check China maybe, or no, China. Sure, she's riding some. It's such an important marketing opportunity for the shapers, Anyway, I didn't want to go into that. Let's close the interview. There are 6 questions, very short. Please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind, okay? The best surfboard that you ever rode?
I'm of the recency bias, so I would say Adelma, which is one of Margot's models that I made that I've been riding a ton. A 6'6" Delma. I've been riding that and everything.
Your favorite shaper of all time?
Ben Ipa.
That's great. Sure. Personal question, your favorite song or kind of music?
I don't have a favorite song.
Kind of music.
Oh, that's hard to say too. I would say, let's say classic rock. That's probably goes back to my youth.
Okay, cool. Cool.
But if I had to like put it down in one, then probably maybe it would be that.
Which one? Because you were muted for a second. What was which song?
Oh, I don't have a favorite song. That's too hard to. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite surf spot if it's not a secret.
Oh, Trestles, Uppers. I surf there every day.
Favorite surfer of all time.
Asher Pacey.
Okay. Okay. Last question. It's a bit unusual. I'd like to know your best relationship advice. Whether relationship, you can go friendship, romantic, relationship with the ocean, relationship with a surfboard if that exists.
My best advice in that way is to not be selfish. Don't be self-centered.
Yeah.
Think of the other person first, and always be willing to apologize when you're wrong.
Nice.
I've been married for 25 years and I have 6 kids. So
Well done. Well done. Thank you, Matt, for being on the show with me today. I look forward to talk to you very soon.
yeah, Alessandro, nice to see you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot. Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!